Hi everyone who's watching. My name is Jessica. I manage the Google Students page on Google+. It's the channel to go to for all news and updates related to students in Google. So we post about internships, programs, scholarships, announcements, and one of the coolest things we talk about is our internship program. And today I'm joined by some of the interns who we featured this year in our Diary of a Summer Intern blog series. We're going to start off by having them introduce themselves. One of them is actually running late to work, so he'll join us in a little bit. But we're going to start with those of us who are here now. So we'll have them introduce themselves, say what university they go to, what they're doing at Google, and anything else they want to share about us. So let's start with Franklin.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Franklin Cheng. I'm a Kenyan. I study science at the university.
Franklin, can you talk a little bit louder? I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. My name is Franklin Oching. I'm a Kenyan by nationality. I study computer science at the University of Nairobi, and I'm currently an undergraduate in my final year. At Google, I'm a software engineer in the emerging markets team. The emerging markets team is typically concerned with coming up with projects that aim to improve the lives of people in the emerging markets, mostly Africa. And for my internship, I'm located in Zurich, Switzerland.
Great. Jess, how about you go?
My name is Jess. I go to Carnegie Mellon University. I have three majors. I'm studying computer science and logic and philosophy. And I am working in the Pittsburgh office at Google, which is also conveniently where Carnegie Mellon is. And the team that I'm working with is the SRE team, that's Site Reliability Engineering.
Cool. How about you, Pablo?
Hi everybody, I'm Pablo. I'm now doing an MBA at Haas in the University of California, Berkeley. And my job at Google is doing product marketing in the mobile ads team. I'm in Mountain View.
Awesome. And Rio, last but not least, and staying up the latest for our hangout.
No, hi. My name's Rio. I'm a second-year master's student at Stanford, studying computer science. And yeah, I'm joining in from the Tokyo office. It's a little like midnight right here. But during my daytime hours, I'm actually an intern in the APM program, which is the Associate Product Management internship. And specifically, I get to work on YouTube, and within YouTube, a feature related to captions.
Very cool. So we're going to start off with some general questions for each of you, since you all have such unique stories of what brought you to Google. Franklin, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like working in the Zurich office, and maybe how you came to Google and heard about the internship and your experiences so far?
Yeah, I'm working in the Zurich office, and this is the first time I'm out of my home country.
Sorry, can you talk louder? I can't hear you.
I'm saying this is the first time I've come out of my home country, Kenya, and so it is a really good experience. I'm seeing a lot of new things. Zurich is a really cool country, and Switzerland is a really cool country, and it's clean, it's green, and everything is just perfect in Switzerland. In Google also, in Google in Zurich, I like it because there's so many people. It's the biggest office in Europe, and it has so many engineers. All of them who are really smart, so you can learn a lot from your fellow colleagues. And there's also a lot of fun in Zurich. You get to know many people. Many people are friendly here, so I'm enjoying myself.
Good. Jess, why don't you talk a little bit about what it means to be an SRE and your experiences as an SRE intern in Pittsburgh?
So for anyone who is not familiar with SRE, Site Reliability Engineering, that's the folks who are making sure that all the stuff inside of Google is working. If something breaks internally, they're the people who get paid at 2 in the morning to fix it. So as a consequence, most of the stuff that the SREs work on is not necessarily user-facing. So we can't really say, oh yeah, I'm working on YouTube, which is really awesome. But it's been really cool working for the SRE team because you learn so much about Google internals. Because you're knee deep in fixing any problems that go wrong, you learn a lot about the infrastructure and the part of the company that you're working with. So that's been really cool.
And how did you find out about the SRE internship?
So I was looking primarily for positions in Pittsburgh because I love the city and I was here already for school and I wanted to stay for the summer. And one of the teams that contacted me during the interview process was the SRE team, and I really loved the project they had to offer me. I also knew people who previously worked in that team, and they vouched for everyone being really cool, which I can say after working for them for almost 3 months is completely true. So yeah, it was really just serendipity.
Cool. Pablo, what about as a grad intern? I know we have a lot of students who ask us about non-engineering roles, and especially for grad students. Can you talk about sort of how your internship has been going, maybe how you heard about the job, what team you're working on?
Well, the good thing about doing a graduate program sometimes is that Google comes to your program to talk to you about different internships that they have, different projects, different positions that they have. So the process, I guess, is different from engineers. So basically, Google comes to your university, they show you how amazing Google is, and they get everybody excited to apply to Google. And there is a application process that is very simple. It's through the website, and the only thing that you need to know is where to look at in the jobs website of Google. So it's not a big deal. And now, once you're at Google, I don't think being a graduate intern is different from being an engineering intern in the program itself. And what I mean with this is that Google is such a flat organization that it doesn't matter what your level of education is. Just to say, it's just you talk to everybody. Everybody talks to everybody. Everybody has access to almost everybody, and everybody is treated well. Here is taken care of, and you have a lot of speaker series. Engineers have their own. We have our own. Our speaker series are more focused on what we do, basically in business, for example. But in the end, it's a very, very flat organization. I would say that the internship experience is not very different from what they do, the engineers do, basically.
And what sort of work have you been doing on your team this summer?
So this summer I've been working on the mobile advertising team, as I said, and I'm doing marketing. So one of the product managers in the mobile ads team wanted to know what's going on in the local mobile advertising space, what are other companies doing, what are some startups doing that is exciting and cool. And my work was, one of the projects I was working on was a competitive analysis to see what people are doing outside Google in this space, and how can Google do better in this space, what ideas I had. That's one project. And another project is that in the mobile advertising team, we have a huge initiative that is GoMo, that helps businesses to go mobile, to have mobile optimized sites. And they wanted me to create a dashboard that could comprehensively measure the success of this initiative worldwide. And that's huge because it's already launched in more than 20 markets. There is a lot of data to consider and to manage. And it's difficult to find the data that you need to see if the campaign has been successful or not. So those have been my two main projects in summer.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And Rio, our Stanford student who's all the way over in Tokyo, how was that transition to heading to another continent for your internship? And how's your internship been going so far?
Oh, it's been going really great. I think it's one of those privileges that Google provides both in full-time employees and interns to be able to work within this sort of googly sort of the way Pablo talked about, this sort of flat company structure, pretty much anywhere in the world. And Tokyo is no exception. I get to work alongside Japanese engineers as well as American engineers. People come in and out a lot from different offices. And so it's really nice to be able to interact with so many different people, kind of like what Franklin mentioned, working out of the Zurich office. One nice thing about Tokyo is that there's so much to do outside of the office as well, and I'm sure it applies to a lot of places around the world too, but Tokyo has a lot of glamour and glitz, and the Tokyo office itself is actually located in one of the more vibrant parts of the city, so you just have to go out of the office and you have tons and tons of places you want to go eat, have fun. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Cool. Well, that's great timing. Look who's decided to join us. We have Luke here.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Luke is our bold intern. Do you want to introduce yourself and say where you go to school, what team you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, my name is Luke Fernandez. I'm a senior at the University of Texas in Austin. I'm a double major in finance and film, so lots to choose from. I'm working at a team called Interactive Solutions at YouTube. They kind of manage all the large marketing campaigns, so all the live streams for festivals, all the contests, and all the aggregate channels. They just kind of oversee the implementation of all those. So it's been a really great summer, and I'm really excited to talk to everyone.
Cool. So we just went over sort of like what people have been working on this summer, and I know you just got back from Lollapalooza. So do
Yeah.
you want to tell us a little bit about how that went and what you were doing to prepare for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, my team runs all the streams for the big music festivals, and our most recent one was this past weekend at Lollapalooza. So, before the festival, there's a lot of talks that go in, pretty much just coordinating the design for the channel that the live stream actually runs on. So there's actually a channel for Lollapalooza, youtube.com/Lollapalooza, where the stream happens, and it shows two different stages at once all throughout the entire day, a bunch of different artists playing. So it's just working with the sponsor and the partner just to make sure that that channel's the right feel for the festival, and that the ads and all the other sponsorships across it are okay. But then when we actually get to the festival, it's all about just kind of updating the channel and watching the feed, making sure everything's dynamic and making sure that it's all up to date. On the second day, there was a huge thunderstorm at Lollapalooza, and they actually had to evacuate everyone from the festival, including us. And when we came back, our production truck was flooded, so we couldn't turn it on, or the entire festival would have blown up. So naturally, we didn't. So we got it back on for the very, very last song, and we were able to get the stream for Red Hot Chili Peppers back up, the headliner for that night. So everyone was really excited. Yeah, so it was a lot of time spent in the truck, but also on my breaks is really, really awesome because we were like with YouTube and etc. We got chief crew passes, which meant we could get backstage and front stage for any shows. And
Very cool.
yeah, it was a great time.
Awesome. Talk about some bumps in the road that you had to navigate over.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to go with questions that we've gotten from some of our followers. The first one is asking what the most challenging part of your internship has been. So we have a lot of questions to go through. We're not going to have everyone answer them. But let's start with Rio, since I know you have some experiences you could talk about in terms of challenges you've encountered.
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting is the APM program and the internship program for APMs is really, it sort of throws you into the deep end of a pool. And you're entrusted with a lot of responsibility. So what a product manager does is essentially tries to make a feature or a product that someone comes up with an idea for. They want to make it usable for people. And in order for it to actually get into the hands of normal everyday users, you need to go through obviously making the product, but there's all sorts of other things like how do you publicize it, how do you market it, does it make business sense, who is it going to impact, is it going to impact only a small percentage of people, or is it going to impact the whole entire world, all sorts of questions. And I was given this responsibility of tackling captions on YouTube and trying to say, okay, captions are great, how do we get more people to use captions? And that's a very broad question to give an intern. And it was really, for the first couple weeks, I was like, wow, this is a big, big challenge. How do I go about actually making it and transforming it into something that I can show and, roll out? So that was probably my biggest challenge.
You're really thrown in the deep end there. We kind of like to do that with our interns, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you only have a few weeks with us. We got to throw you in right away and sink or swim. But you all seem to be doing really well. That's the goal. Jess, I think you said you could also share a bit about your experiences.
Sure. I think the most challenging part of my internship so far has just been the learning curve. There's definitely been a lot of stuff to pick up on, a lot of like Google internal tools and infrastructure and all this stuff that you just get completely submerged in. You're tossed into this giant code base that you've never seen before. So I think the hardest part about my internship so far has just been getting up to speed and doing it quickly because the internship is so short. It's 12 weeks give or take, so you really have to hit the ground running.
Yeah. And Franklin, did you have a story you wanted to share about something that's been challenging for you?
Yeah, sure. And it was similar to what Jess said. There is a lot of things to learn as an intern, as a software engineering intern. You have to pick up on a lot of technologies that Google are using. You have to be able to make something out of them. So there's, I could say there's information overload. And you don't want to be just the intern who came and left. So you want to come and do something. Maybe let's say as a software engineering intern, I want to be the person who came and change the test coverage from 70% to 100%, or introduce a new feature or something. You have to leave a mark, so you have to be able to come up with a balance. You have to be able to consume all the information and make something out of it. So that has been my biggest challenge so far. And,
Yes.
but,
We lost you. Oh, you're back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Can you guys hear me and see me? I'm in here
Yeah.
twice now. This is weird.
Yeah, one of them is a still frame.
Weird. Okay, sorry. Continue on.
yeah, so like I was saying, as a software engineer in intern, one of my biggest challenges has been the information overload. There is a lot of things to be able to learn. There's a lot of technologies to learn. There's a lot of things to pick up on and do something with. So as a software engineer in intern, my biggest challenge has been to be able to process all the information that I'm given and be able to make something out of it. You don't just want to be the intern who came and left without having and didn't do much to be able to contribute and do something productive. So that has been the biggest challenge so far. There's a
Yeah.
lot to do, so little time.
I like that. You don't want to be the intern who just came and left, right? You want to make your impact. Okay, let's go on to the next question. How about, Pablo, you can tackle this one. How have you been able to find a balance between work and play? Google has a lot of awesome benefits for their employees. How have you been able to sit yourself down to get work done and then also meander across the way to a free concert like we had yesterday?
Yeah, it's not easy. That's really a good question. But I guess Googlers are people who are responsible and who like what they do. So it's not so much about finding a balance, saying, hey, I need to work X hours. I think there is a lot of flexibility there. So it's basically they expect you to get your work done, and they don't care so much, at least in my experiences, they don't care so much about when you do it, how you do it, or where you do it. So you can see people working from the benches outside because it's sunny outside, so it's funny. So it's not like the typical classical office environment that you need to sit at your desk and not move for 8 hours. You can have a lot of flexibility. So for example, in my case, I've been playing a soccer league here at Mountain View, so I go to play soccer, and that's my free time. And everybody knows that I play soccer on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. So everybody understands that, and everybody likes it, and they encourage you to do it. So it's not so much that you need to fight for it. You're encouraged to do stuff outside work, and they expect you to be responsible and to be just googly in that sense. So it's not. I don't think it's a big deal. So you can do it. Everybody can do it if you're responsible enough and you know where to find the balance. Actually, yeah.
Good answer. Let's see. We have quite a few questions to get through, so we're going to move on to the next one, which is, what's your favorite part about working at Google? And I know all of you probably want to answer this, but we'll go to Rio and Tokyo for this.
Okay. So I think my favorite part is being able to really sort of highlighting what Pablo talked about, the flat structure. It's really easy to be able to talk to other people in Google and sort of come up to them and say, hi, I have a question, or here, I'd like to get to know you more. And what's interesting here in Tokyo is that you see a lot of people come from different cultures and sort of, like, for example, a lot of Japanese students or students who've lived in the United States come back and they work for Google. And when you talk to them, there's so many ideas, so many different cultures that come up, and it's really a humbling experience in that regard to be able to talk to people and be able to have a conversation really easily inside the office.
Okay, Luke, I'm putting you on the spot. What's your favorite part about working at Google?
Yeah, it's really tough. This is my second summer here, and when I first came to Google, I think my favorite thing by far was the food. I'm an absolute fatty and just love food and really, really take advantage of all the food. But by the end of last summer, I really found that it is the people, and that's honestly what most people will say who've worked here for a while is just that there's nothing that beats the people here. Everyone's so innovative and smart, but clever and quirky and kind of weird in their own way. Every day is a really interesting day, so it's definitely on the people that I've had to work with. Like I love the content I work on, and I love my function. But if it weren't for the people, like my days wouldn't be as great as they were.
Cool. What about the next question we have is what skills have you gained at Google that you plan to take back to school? We'll start with Jess for this one.
So actually that was an awesome segue from Luke because I think the skill I'm going to take most back to school is the ability to ask people who know more than me for help. So I mentioned before that like the most challenging part of my internship has been just learning everything and getting up to speed. And I feel like sometimes, especially in like really competitive school programs, there can be a sense of not wanting to ask for help because you want to. You're competing to try to get into grad school, try to get into good jobs. But I found that at Google, people are so friendly and so willing to help. That one of the things I really came to terms with was that it's a really good idea to ask people to explain things to you and to bounce ideas off of. And I think that's something that a lot of schools try to foster, but it can be harder in that kind of environment because I feel like it's inherently more competitive. So yeah, I think the biggest one I'm going to take back is the ability to rely on, in school it'd be TAs and professors. At Google it was my coworkers, being able to ask them to teach me new things.
It's a great skill to learn when you're this age. Franklin, what about you?
I'd have to say it's working in a team. At Google, you put in a team to work with, and you're supposed to think up about your project. You're supposed to design it. You're supposed to do all things as a group. So working in a team has been one of the major skill sets that I've learned. I've learned to be able to talk to people, to be able to consult and design stuff as a group. Maybe if I'm having a problem, I can go to the people who probably know more than me who can always at a position where they'd like to help. So I've learned to talk to a lot of people, and with regards to my computer science background, I've been able to learn how to develop systems that are going to be used by millions of people. So in that case, you need to consider a lot of things like scalability, coding for performance. Generally, I can say I'm a better computer scientist than I came here.
And I'm going to follow up with you on another question. This one came from Emmanuel in Kenya, and he's wondering, as a software engineering intern, what sort of skill set did you find useful during your internship? So could you expand upon that?
The skill set. As a software engineer, you're supposed to know your stuff. You're supposed to know the basics. You're supposed to know what you're working on, what you're working with, the tools, and everything, so that you can be able to apply it and do something innovative. As well, you need also be able to be flexible enough to learn new stuff and be able to pick up on new technologies and use them just as well as things that you've grown up knowing. So yeah, you should be able to learn fast. In my opinion, that's a bigger skill you need to get by.
Great. So let's move on to a very popular question. This is from Michelle in Malaysia. We're going to go to Jess first to answer this. So how did you prepare for your interview? The daunting Google interview, how did you prepare?
I think the biggest thing is confidence. Nerves will completely shake you up, and you could know your material backwards and forwards, but if you're terrified, you're going to blank. It's the same way where if you get really nervous before a big test, you have the chance of messing up things that you know for sure. So I think anything you can do to make yourself feel more confident in your abilities, whether that's reading through your textbooks or your notes or doing practice problems, whatever it is to make you feel comfortable walking in is the best thing you can do. And at least in terms of coding interviews, it's really helpful to be familiar with coding on a whiteboard. Coding at your computer is way different from coding at a whiteboard, and it's just a completely different skill, and it's something you really need to practice. So I am fortunate enough to teach during the semester as I'm a TA. So I do lots of code on the whiteboards when I teach recitations and during office hours. But if it's not something you find yourself doing, get a friend or just do it yourself and try it, practice, because it's a skill you need to pick up, and it's going to be really useful if you are already comfortable with doing that by the time you get in the room with your interviewer.
That's great advice. We always tell students to practice coding on a whiteboard. Rio, what about you? What helped you prepare for your interview?
I mean, just said most of it. I was going to say I became really good friends with the whiteboard, and even for 8 p.m. program, which is, there's a good portion of it that is technical, but there's also a portion of it where you have to think about products and how you would make something work in the real world. And I'm a very visual person, and for those who want to communicate ideas in a visual way, using a whiteboard is really essential. So I definitely would encourage that too.
Okay, and let's go to the non-engineering side. So Pablo, Luke, what did you guys do to help prepare for your interviews? What was that like?
Well, in my case, I think I would say 3 things that I look for at Google for an intern here at Google. One of them is that you love technology, that you're passionate about this industry, that you're passionate about this. The second thing is they want to see that you're good for Google standards, and that's something that you need to show in the interview with cases. They use cases sometimes, they use techniques that people that are graduate students are familiar with. And the third thing that they want to see is that you're googly. So what does that mean? A lot of people ask me that. So googly means that you're someone that can deliver, but also it has integrity, is fun to work with, but he can deliver. So it's the same thing that the work perks balance that we talked about before. You're someone that wants to have fun while working, but also delivers. So the way I would prepare for the interviews would be first read a lot about Google, about the products, about what they do. And what I did a list of Google products. I did a column saying, hey, what do I like? Do I like them or do I hate them? and another column said, why do I like them? Why do I hate them? And what would I change, for example? So that got me into learning a little bit more about all the products that come across Google, because you never know who's going to interview you. You never know who's going to interview you. If it's going to be someone from the Chrome team or someone from AdWords, so you never know. So it's good to know a little bit about everything. So that would be my advice.
Good advice. What about you, Luke? You've been back. This is your second summer at Google, so clearly your interviews have gone well. What have you done to prepare?
I hope they did. Well, I think it's a lot like he said. Like it's fit and knowledge. So it's fit. Like, are you googly? Are you going to fit in? Are you all these above qualities? These like smart but quirky. A lot of integrity, but it's also knowledge. I mean, you definitely have to know your stuff. If you're interviewing for a certain team, like I did, enterprise or YouTube, like you really have to know that product in and out. You have to expect questions like, what would you do to make the product better? What would you, what's your favorite part of something? What's your least favorite part of something, etc. I learned that lesson kind of the hard way. My very first interview last year for Enterprise, I got a question along the lines of like, what's your favorite product, or what's the product that you like a lot within Enterprise? And I was extremely ready for this question, gave like a huge spiel on how much I loved this certain product and how great it was because of X, Y, and Z. And after I was done, the guy was like, that was really great, but that wasn't an enterprise product, and it was just kind of really awkward. And he gave me another shot, and afterwards he told me like, you got it wrong, but it's really well delivered, and you obviously know about the company, so do your research before the next interview and know that product in and out. So
that's a good learning story.
Yeah,
hopefully people are listening into that. Okay, so the last thing I want us to go over, because we've already been in for about 30 minutes now, for anyone who just sort of pressed play and is watching our Hangout, we're joined by some of our awesome Google interns. You guys wave, say hello to everyone who's watching. They're based in time zones all over the world. We have Franklin in Zurich, Jess is in Pittsburgh, Luke's here in San Bruno, Pablo's in Mountain View, and Rio is in Tokyo. So we've got all our bases covered across all of our global offices. Well, not all of them, most of them. And we're going to finish up by having each of them sort of give a spiel on what's a day in the life like for you. So take us through sort of average day. I know at Google it's very hard to have an average day because things come up all the time. So let's just try and do like a quick version of what's an average day like for you. So Franklin, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, that's a very good question. My day is very dynamic. I have different things to do on a daily basis. But one of the most common things I do is I get to the office about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I can stay all the way to 7. And it's really flexible. I can stay anytime. It depends on the amount of work I have. And maybe between the day, I'll spend like half my days in my computer because it's really beautiful. And yeah, so I normally go to the kitchen, go and hang out with guys, play pool, and get back to work. Like, you have to make sure you also do your work in time.
Sounds like a fun day. What about you, Jess? What's your average day like?
I usually get in early enough in the morning to grab a hot breakfast, which is delicious. But if I miss it, I'll swing by my kitchen and grab some fresh fruit or something. And in the morning before lunch, I usually am going through my email and I'm figuring out my plan for the rest of the day, what I want to work on if I need to meet with anybody. I'll have lunch with my team, usually pretty early, maybe like 11:30, and then from noon or so through the end of the day, I'm really focused in on whatever I'm working on, whether it's writing code for something or reading documentation or meeting with somebody to bounce ideas off of. But I get some good solid work in from maybe 12 to 6, and then I'll stay after work sometimes and play pinball or something with my coworkers, or sometimes I'll stay late for dinner because the food is really good. But yeah, I think that's pretty much an average day for me.
Cool. All right, Luke, what's your day like?
Right. So in the Bay Area, in Mountain View and San Bruno and all these offices, Google has shuttles that run across the entire area and pick people up at different parts of the city and then bus them to their respective offices. So I have the option of either hopping on an 8 or 10 o'clock bus, and depending on what I do is depending on if I eat breakfast. So get here, eat a warm breakfast, sit down at my desk and check my emails, and then I'll probably have a few meetings in the morning and go to those. And then after the meetings, I'll come back and shoot a few golf balls on the putting green right in front of my desk, and then come back to my desk and then probably work on my projects for a few hours, go to lunch, which is probably my favorite part of the day always, and then get back from lunch, check up on emails again, go to a few more meetings, get out of those meetings and do a few laps around the office on a scooter, and then go upstairs and play a game of pool. I take this like 30-minute break every day in the afternoon where I literally take a lap on the scooter and then play like a game, sometimes to a pool, and then come back, work on my projects, sync up with my managers, get on the shuttle to go home, and have a huge smile on my face.
And do it all over again the next day.
Yeah.
All right,
sometimes we get to see fits in the tantrums too.
Sometimes. Were you here yesterday for that?
Yeah, for a bit of it.
Oh yeah, that was pretty fun. That was a good example of work-life balance here at Google.
Yeah.
All right, Pablo, how about you?
So in my case, it's very similar. In the morning, I get here around 8:30, and I have a warm breakfast, which is great. It's awesome. Bacon every morning. It's not healthy for me at least, but it's great. And then yeah, it's like the typical stuff. So you have meetings, you check your email, you have some meetings, you see meetings to see how the product is evolving, what the next launches are going to be in this specific product, and organize with other teams to see how marketing can help with the launch in the end, right? And then you have these meetings with these people, then you work on your own with your project. In my case, it's just a summer project, but you work on that for a few hours, and you go to lunch. And the good thing about Google is that you can have lunch with almost anyone, so you can contact someone, find someone on the internet, say, hey, I'm interested in what you're working on. Can we have lunch and talk about it? And normally they say yes. So you go to lunch with anyone you want in the company almost. And then you come back, you do some more work, and then we take the shuttle back to, in my case, to Berkeley, which is where I live.
Very cool. Last but not least, Rio, what's it like in Tokyo? Average day?
So I live about 15 minutes away from the office. So I walk here, get in around 9. One of the interesting things of working in a remote office is the time zone difference. And so most of my emails actually come in from Mountain View or San Bruno, which are the two teams that I usually work with most often. They come in while I'm asleep, so from like midnight to 7. So when I wake up and check my email, I've got this ton of emails that need addressing. So most of those I'm I try to get out of the way as soon as I can. I also end up living fairly in advance of, like, I'm planning out a week or two, maybe a couple more weeks in advance. So I'm trying to sort of see what needs to be scoped out. So I do scheduling of meetings, at the same time. But otherwise, it's really similar. I have lunch. The food here is really good, and they have really good food, like special menu items on certain days. And yeah, and then afternoons are pretty much a lot of meetings as well, and trying to do some brainstorms as well. So sometimes I'll ask for other people to join in for a brainstorm and say, okay, here's what I want to do. What do you think? Like, obviously, I can't be the one only making or thinking of ideas, and so a lot of those happen. And then, yeah. Dinner here is good too, so it's really easy to end up staying here fairly late. So when I do that, I stick around for dinner. And before that, usually around 4 o'clock, I'll pull in another intern who's worked. There's a couple interns here, and so we'll play pool on one of the floors. And I still suck at pool.
One skill set you have not developed as much.
Not at all. I'm still really bad.
Okay, so I'm going to put you all on the spot with one more question. If you had to sum up your internship at Google in 3 words, it can be like a phrase or 3 different words that describe your internship, what would you use for those 3 words? And if anyone wants to go first, they can, but if not, I'm just going to put one of you on the spot, and you have to pick your 3 words.
I could go first.
Perfect.
I could say I love it.
I love it. That's a good one. No pressure for the rest of you, but that's a good one.
I have one. It's a humbling one. So much impact.
So much impact. That's another great one. I hear that a lot from interns, and I like to hear that. Okay, the last 3. Who's going to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Luke.
It's just so googly.
Just so Google. You guys are good at this. I didn't give you this question beforehand. I was interested to see what you came up with. All right, Jess and Pablo.
I'll go.
Okay.
Say learned so much.
Learned so much. That encapsulates a lot. Okay, Pablo, no pressure.
Okay, I'd say so much different.
So much different. Hopefully in a good way. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
like
in a good way.
what you thought it was going to be like. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I know, Rio, it's very late for you. For those of us in Mountain View, it's pretty early. But it was really great talking with all of you about your internship experiences. I think hopefully you opened up a lot of people's eyes to what opportunities there are at Google. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks to those of you who are watching right now and tuned in during our Hangout. We'll post the video recording to our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Google Students, and we'll be doing more of these in the future, so stay tuned. Bye, guys.
Bye.